All right. So I'm gonna start this video over because I lost my train of thought. Um, Shout out to your buddy Keith. Okay, he had wrote this comment about a week ago. Um, he said you're going down the rabbit hole I was a couple years ago. Class one is actually discussing this topic because it's really hard to really just like talk about this subject because it's the point of that it's so complicated, right? And it's not. It's as simple as you make it, but understanding it is a complicated process. But it's easy. It's simple. It's just chemistry, basically. So currently, I have an M62 M62 TUB for point 0.6 block with 180K on it with unknown history. Compression numbers are great. Rod bearings are at the end of the line. Fortunately, the cylinders look great. Just a few shiny spots, but no scratches. I'm currently debating on freshening them up, but hesitant because of the rings. Porsche guys had success reusing rings, but it's not a BMW. But they're both alusil engines. They are alusil engines. Aluminum silicon, aluminum alloy engines. So that's the same. You got to keep the premise of the basics. See how this is getting complicated because this is Porsche and this is BMW. In reality, this is an alusil block with an alusil block with two different names on it, two different torque specs because of two different loads or whatever the case may be, how they made it. Okay. So he continues to say, I'm not sure if their stock rings were Molly, like on the M62. I think you mentioned seeing the same video of the guy block swapping his Mercedes Turbo V8, and he did the same. He reused old rings. They claim to not have any oil consumption and compression results. The guy DIY his block, much like the videos you shared from start to finish. And I shared a couple of videos of Jesse B, the other guy who was that showed the felt pad method, and the other guy uh um he had a Mercedes. Jesse B had had an M62 block. The guy who showed the felt pad alusil lapping process, uh he had an M62 BMW. Um and and the last guy, he had a Mercedes. I think he's referencing that one. So he said he reused his old rings. How many miles did those rings have? Um for me to say like and fully trust in it, because I see where he's coming from. They claim to not have oil consumption and compression results. Yeah. It's hard to believe because anybody can lie. People are just like, oh no, it's good. But when they get home, they're really adding a quart of oil still. And that quart of oil gets expensive as shit. Okay. I mean, they claim it, but they don't. And they also don't show the car afterwards. Like they just never upload another video about the car. And I find that suspicious as well. And me personally, um, what's his face? M5 39 Stretton. Stretton, I hope I say his name right, whatever. He showed it with, I think he had a B58. I want to say that. He had some car. It was nice. And where he did his alusil reconditioning series. I mean, you can do that at home. It looks like shit, but it's still the same thing. If you have the AN silicone pads, you have felt pads or a higher quality of felt pads, it's the same thing. Like, and the reason why they like they take the material off is to ensure that they start the cylinder over completely. That is where I am concerned, is that, yeah, it's glazed, but to kind of like roughen it up without having the proper readings of it, like the promifler and the values, the roughness values that a promifler provides is inaccessible. So the safe way to do a roughening process is the Scotch Brite with high pressure. With high tension, it's pressing against it pretty hard, but it cannot oversize the board like a stone would, like a stone can. So he wanted to know what my thoughts were regarding freshening it up by whether by hand or felt pads and reusing old rings. So Jesse B did show that video of him doing it by hand. I mean, that means it needs that much pressure to really do the process. And it's at such a microscopic level. You can't see it. You really can't see it. What you can see is the dull finish, how it went from glaze to dull, but it's still shiny. It's like, because it's aluminum and silicon. That's why it's still shiny, because you still have raw metal and the silicon compound in there, etched in there. And that's where people get confused. Now, the break-in period for this engine, it's rough. The best way to do it is castor oil. Not sure why. We'll look into it though. But that's what we're talking about. We're gonna talk about what Brother Keith said. Wanted to know what your thoughts were regarding freshening up, whether by hand or felt pads, like in the last step of the Goodson guy, and reusing old rings. I showed my results on doing the felt pads on my TikTok. I think I showed them on here too, actually on the shorts. And as I'm trying to get into like the ropes of how to make long-term content in this Vegas heat, I have to stay indoors. And in the meantime, I just ordered my rings. I ordered new rings. I didn't do a compression test on either one of these engines I've had. That's why I bought new rings. Reusing old rings, if the compression is good, makes complete logical sense. It does make sense. Was the car burning oil before? It's a BMW, of course, but it depends on how much. And then let alone, do you have a catch can? The catch can, I don't care if you're doing a race car, street car, a golf cart. A catch can is always going to be great to have. It's always going to be great to have. I cut myself. So he proceeds to say B46, the B46 rings will run 200 a set. So not really keen on spending 1600 if the boards look fine. There's glaze spots. Me personally, I will still take that extra step and lap them. Now, I personally wouldn't do them by hand. I know. I'm going to do them with the felt pads because it's going to be more consistent. I'm not going to be straining my hand. I don't know if it's because look, I, he has a picture right here that he's in the gym right now. This dude's muscled up, but I still wouldn't want to do all that. You want to keep doing this? Me personally, no. Me personally, no. I wouldn't. If you don't want to buy more on that, I mean, because what you'll save on those rings if you buy them a certain way, and I'm gonna tell you how to buy them a certain way. And Keith, you're still like confused. Hit me up. Actually, I'm gonna hit you up. I'm gonna hit you up. But after this video, I'm definitely gonna hit you up after this. Um, if the boards look fine, it's a situation where I'm debating on if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But while I'm in there, preventive maintenance is important, he says. There's not much clarity regarding ring break in, as if you read, allegedly, aluseals don't have a break in. Who the fuck said that? Who the fuck said that? I want to know who told you that. Um, they don't have a break-in, but then some reports say they have a break-in period. Every car has a break-in period. I believe they do have a break-in period. Why does the alusil have a break-in period? Why do the rings have a break-in period? Because rings are the space between the piston and the wall. It's making up basically piston the wall clearance. If you ask me, that's where the compression and the blow by can happen, right? Right. So if you get blow by, you most likely have a bad compression. But if your compressions are good, you don't have any blow by. You don't have any blow by. I wouldn't replace the rings. Now the question is, how will those old rings break onto? How would they break in the new silicon crystals you etched into the aluminum? How would that happen? I don't know the answer to that. I don't. This is also going to be a good talk. I'm gonna look into it with you guys and see what I find. But there's definitely a break-in period for BMW. Stratton done it 1,000 times with all the BMWs he's fixed, even with the Mercedes, castor oil. Keith also said, this is the last of it. I didn't catch what your situation was with your M62 in terms of cylinder condition and what route you went in prepping them for assembly. Okay. So, sorry for the long comment. Thoroughly enjoyed the content and info. Thanks for making the videos. Thank you for making this comment. I appreciate you as well. So, we got a few talking points. First, the rings. You do not have to spend so much on rings because you need to learn how to cross-reference your parts. If you cross-reference your parts, you will save a lot of money. I'll tell you the story time. I went into AutoZone, right? I went to AutoZone, of course, the guys at the counter, hey, how can I help you? You know, make and model, year, make and model, boom. I have a 1998 740i BMW. I need an auxiliary fan because my car kept overheating at idle. And I went and got a generic one because after I saw the the branded one or the highest end one or recommended one was 300 some dollars, I was like, hell no, I don't have that. Because I just got my job. I just moved to Vegas. There's a lot of reasons why I'm like, hell no, I don't have that. That's too much. But it is also ridiculous to charge that much for a fucking fan. And I don't even know if it came with resistors or not. So I said, nah, give me the cheapest one. And I think the cheapest one was like $60, $40, something like that. Way less than 300. He's like, are you sure? He's like, it's a BMW. I was like, yeah, I'm sure. He's like, okay. Like, what? Like, nigga, what the fuck is that gonna do? What is that gonna do? Oh, that shit just needs that shit just needs a fan on it. Like, everybody need a lot of people need a fan when they sleep. You know what I'm saying? You know, there's some real fan warriors, and a car is one of them. They need a fan, cool down radiator, condensers, whatever the fuck that's in the front. It needs that at idle. It does. So it was rink dink. I definitely nigga rigged that shit up. And I had put it on there too tight and it started like it made a noise, so I'll know when it was on. So I was kind of happy with that mistake. It was fine until I saved up enough money and got another one. And I had another mechanic tell me, like, you know, the Euro, what is it called? It's like Euro something. The URO. Oh, that's cheap aftermarket stuff. Some aftermarket parts are not that fucking cheap, you know? And this is quite a tangent, but it's all coming back to, just because it's not the recommended way to get it does not mean that it's not that product. It's not that same fucking product. I go to AutoZone and only get covered for a year, but I can go to FCP Euro, pay a little bit more, a little less, and I have a lifetime warranty. You got to weigh your options. And when it comes to these rings, when it comes to thermostats, you have to cross-reference your parts. They don't make it no more for this car. But what they don't want you to know, because they disguise it underneath another part number, they just change the whole part number because it's under a whole nother car. A lot of people don't know this. Maybe you do, but Volkswagen parts are in Bugatti. Volkswagen, I'll admit, is a little bit more complicated when it comes to cross-referencing their parts. But if you really want it, you will definitely get it. If the car, I wouldn't be surprised if it was to a point where with Volkswagen, the parts, let's say, you know how they changed the emblem Mach 3, Mach 4, Mach 5, and the emblem attaches to the grill a different fucking way, which I think is fucking stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if, oh, this car has a Mach 3 emblem on the front and it still has similar parts to it, and this car still has a Mach 3 emblem. Like little things like that matter to me, and I go and research that. And it usually helps me figure that out. That's why, back to my original question, like, if I go get old rings, does that mean there's no break-in period for the alusil crystals? I personally think there's still a break-in period, because how is the old rings going to break in the alusil crystals? How is it going to do that? Won't that make the cylinder fail? What's going on? What's going on there? I don't know. I have no idea what's going on there. You use old rings. If your compression's good, it will make sense. It will make sense to use old rings. Lapping them by hand, it wouldn't hurt. But the thing that Keith and I want, and anybody else watching this video wants to know a certain way. And you're probably not going to get that answer until I finish building this bitch. Until I finish building this M62 4.4 block. But when it comes to these rings, they're 200 a set. I bought one ring. I thought I was buying a whole 8-pack for $125 from FCP Euro. Bro, it was only one ring. It was for one piston for $125 from BMW. I said, no, take that shit back. Y'all need to take this shit back. Okay, well, accept your refund. Thank you so much, And I went and I found an 8-pack for 100. I didn't even pay like I paid like 178, 179 in total for an 8-pack. You don't believe me? Hold on. Let me show you this shit. It's right here. Proof in the fucking pudding. I'm not going to tell you. This type of information, you got to figure out yourself, or you got to pay me for it. I'm sorry. I'm not that type of person like, oh, you got to monetize everything. But this right here is something a lot of people don't know. And you have to pay for the information if you truly want to understand it, because I'm trying to explain this alusil process to a guy. He loves cars, right? He fucking loves cars, but he can't fucking understand that is simply an etching process. He's like, that's stupid. No, you're just mad because it's BMW. You're just mad because it's foreign. I don't know what the fuck it is with them niggas talking about some. Oh, it's because it's a foreign and this and that, this and that. Okay, yeah, it is annoying, but I think personally, you have no patience, or you have patience for what the fuck you want to be patient with. Like, come on, you like a person that reps sits there and rep GM, Ford, Dodge, Ram all the goddamn time and talk about some. Oh, oh, it's just a BMW is fucking trash because of all of its plastic parts. If you think about it, motherfucker, you're saving a couple turtles. If you think about it, motherfucker, that's actually good. If you get a broken air intake tube, it's plastic. All you gotta do is remelt that bitch again and make another one. Like, come on. Come on. You don't have to sit here and go have some kid in fucking Africa. Like, I'm not trying to be like a humanist, where the fuck, like I'm not that type of person. But I'm just saying, you're calling something stupid without considering the purpose of it. The reason why they make it plastic is because it's easier to keep cool. You don't have to worry about your other components working harder to keep that shit cool. Aluminum. Duh. We all know aluminum does that. I know I'm going on a tangent, but it all makes sense. And probably a couple of you are laughing about this shit because it's true. You're mad it's not metal because you're rough ass, don't know how to sit here and be agile enough to take something off. It fucking sucks. We all know it sucks. I got the knuckles, the hands to prove it. It fucking sucks. But I don't give a damn. It's worth it. BMW for life. Gang, gang. This right here. I got them. I got all 8 for a pack. I got all of them. They're legit. They're fucking legit. The hologram is there. The QR code is there. You ever want to authenticate it? It says made in Germany. It definitely says made in Germany. Look at the screen if you're not looking at it. Okay? It's there. It's definitely there. Here goes the part number, everything. It's there. They're legit. They're fucking legit. See? And you can tell these are older. You can definitely tell these are older. Like, come on. I'm showing you proof in a pen. My shit's legit. My research, my thesis, my shit talking is legit. That's the top ring. Second ring. I got all that. Okay. Let me see. It'll be all right for the sake of the video. Okay. All that shit's in there. Proof in the pudding. Cross-referencing part numbers of different vehicles come in handy because at first I wanted Land Rover pistons. I wanted to get new pistons for the old block because I didn't have this block I have now as spare donor. Anyways, I was looking up Land Rover pistons. The pistons cost way less than if I were to look up with BMW's part number. Some of the parts are going to be the same. Part numbers are going to be the same, but they're going to be different. Just don't expect it. Okay. Excuse me. I already gave you the answer. Okay. I already gave you the answer. I already told you how to do it. I just now told you how to do it. Cross-reference your cars and your parts. Find the engine. Match the part numbers. If the part numbers don't match the specifications. If it has a 92 millimeter bore and the engine you're looking at has a 92 bore, but it's a different brand, you know what I'm saying? Now, where you get this shit from, that's what you're going to pay me for. Where you get it from, you have to do that. You're going to have to pay it for you to understand. For me to really show you. Take time out of my day to show you. It's simple. If you're truly like mechanically inclined, you will figure that shit out. I already gave you the hint. So we cut Keith's first situation in half. We're gonna cut that down. Verse 1600 for one piston. I'm sorry, for one piston ring set, we got it down, cut in half. 180. We cut it down from 1600 to 180, right? Maybe it's still gonna be 200 for you, and you'll have to wait a month or two, a month. Yeah, most likely a month for it to come in. Just verify the product when you get it, because most carports have QR codes and all that jazz. Like the fuel injectors, they have QR codes so you can know what it is and where to get it, whatever. Now, let's get to. I didn't catch your situation with your M62. I'm going to explain that at the end of the video because this is already going to be a long ass video. But I want to stay on topic. We want to talk about, I'm going to help Keith out. Brother Keith, you want to know, well, we both want to know, is there a break-in period? Is there a break-in period for alusil cylinders with old piston rings? What do y'all think? First, I want to see what you guys think. No, there is no traditional break-in period from old piston rings reused in alusil cylinders because the used rings have already worn in to match a specific wear pattern. But if you lap it, don't you have to break the silicone crystals in again? Because they're sharp at first and then they round out. That's how they break in. So let's see what the AI overview has to say. Key facts and reusing rings on alusil. Worn match, piston rings, married to their specific cylinder bore during the initial run. So if you want to use your old rings, this is what we're going through right now. I'm not giving it the thumbs up yet because I still want to see where this is going. I want to see where the logic is in all this. Okay. So worn match, piston rings married to their specific cylinder bore during their initial run. Reusing old rings in the same or different orientation without remachining, reshaping often leads to poor compression. Hold on. We got to stop. We got to rerun that. Piston rings marry their specific cylinder bore during their initial run. And when I say initial run, I think it means in this passage that I think it means with new rings, a whole new engine, just a new engine in general. Freshly lapped, alusil, and new rings. New pistons, probably too. So reusing old rings in the same or different orientation without remachining, reshaping often leads to poor compression, blow by, and high oil consumption because they will not reseat properly. This is from and this is what I love about the AI review. It cites, it has references. And look at this older man. The marriage between piston rings and cylinder walls. Pelican forms new rings after cylinder honing. Okay. That's 2012. Let's go to aviation. And the reason why I want to go to aviation, because as you saw, actually you didn't see, alusil is used for airplanes. So question, I am an A&P. I don't even know what that shit means, but he an A&P, okay? And have been in aviation since 1990. I once worked with another mechanic who told me that if you pull a piston out of a cylinder, you must replace the rings and hone the cylinder again. He is the only tech I have heard say this until I read your article. What's best, a flush or overhaul? Okay. You stated it, quote, if oil starvation is suspected, you may want to remove the number one cylinder. Leave the piston in the cylinder so you don't have to hone the cylinder and install new rings. Leave the piston in the cylinder so you don't have to hone the cylinder and install new rings. What about taking like what if the fucking piston is exposed to the outer air of the fucking cylinder, something's going on? What's up with that? And remove the connecting rod from the crankshaft. Unquote. Can you explain this? This guy said if oil starvation is suspected, you may want to remove the number one cylinder. In parentheses, he says leave the piston in the cylinder so you don't have to hone the cylinder and install new rings. Why would I leave the piston in the cylinder so I don't have to hone the cylinder and install new rings? And you have to remove the connecting rod. Okay. Is there a service bulletin or other directive that explains this practice? Thanks for your knowledge. Here's the answer. Tom, let me first start off by thanking you for your question. For the life of me, I don't recall any incoming publication that specifically tells you to do that. What I stated about leaving the piston in the cylinder while doing an internal inspection in this particular situation, in this case, it was for the suspicion of foreign material in the engine. Oh, okay. In this case, it was for the suspicion of a foreign material in the engine. So that's why he's saying do not take it out because it's However, as I think back in my career, I honestly believe this is one of those maintenance procedures that one learns from experience. And a lot of people keep saying that. It's by experience. And it sucks to sit here and take a gamble like this. I mean, us trying to rebuild a car without any like degree or certification is already a risk in itself, a lot of people could say. But it's not that big of a deal once you get your hands in there. Let's take a look at the logical side of the equation. My man, I hope you noticed that the person making the inquiry did not mention how many hours were on the engine, in which he found bits and pieces of paper towel. Therefore, I assumed the engine was beyond normal break-in period of say 25 to 50 hours. Given that, I also assume that if this was the case, then the piston rings would have seated or bedded in the oil consumption stabilized. If the pistons were removed from the cylinder at this time, the result will be that we disturb the marriage between the piston rings and the cylinder wall. Because that technically makes sense. Okay? That technically makes sense. Because when you do put rings back in, and this silicone is such at a microscopic level, you have no idea. You can't see at all what's going on between those silicone crystals and the ring. Because you can't. Why do I say that? Why do I agree so heartily just based off him saying that and not finishing the passage? Let's take a break. And you guys can tell me I'm wrong or right. I don't give a shit. Please leave your opinions below. I was reading up on Molly because I'm like, this is BMW, the QR code. It takes me to the website, but it's not telling me any instructions. Right? So apparently, there's a top and a bottom to these rings. And they marked it. Maybe it's not on this one. This one looks like iron. It looks like cast, some type of steel. Definitely. See right here. You're probably not going to be able to capture it. But this right here, and it's Molly. That's Molly's emblem. It says it has this M next to it, and it spells out top. This ring is supposed to be like this, and when you install it into the piston groove, not like this. That alone can be like, you installed it wrong. No, the ring packs were fake and installed such shit. And I didn't even notice this until I looked at the directive that this second ring has a lip. It has a lip. It has a top and then it goes down. You flip that, I don't know how that's going to change it based on the outer side, because it doesn't have that lip on the outer side. It only has it on the inner side. And I have no idea what that does. But small things like that actually matter. And it makes perfect sense that matters. Like, hey, you fucked up our bond and you can't even replicate it because I ripped it down. And you can't nearly replicate that because this is something me and the other person was working on. You know, some of you guys probably had a girl that was she was the one that got away or whatever the case may be. And you try to get that back with another person and it just don't fucking work out. It's just something that worked between the two of you without even communicating because of chemistry. So when you take the piston out of the cylinder, you would be disturbing the marriage between the piston rings and the cylinder wall, which is the result of which is a result of proper engine break-in, in which we know has occurred when the engine oil consumption stabilizes. I'm not sure what the fuck you mean by that. Once the piston is removed from the cylinder barrel, you can never reassemble it and have the same ring to barrel marriage. And I don't think so either because, again, like, I don't know, like, does the rings dull out? You know what I'm saying? And he never once mentioned compression. It's just a simple fact of marriage alone. It's the principle of the thing. The marriage is more important than, oh, it has good compression. Oh, it's operating normally. Once you take that shit out, that's it. My bad. I got Snickers stuck in my back of my tooth. The bad part about this is you could end up with that cylinder having high oil consumption following return to service because the rings are not sealed, and the chances of having them seat on an engine that has, say, 100 hours on it or more is unlikely. The result then, to fix the high oil consumption and possibly oil fouled spark plugs on that cylinder, requires the cylinder to be removed and honed in the installation of new piston rings. Then, once again, it's like starting out with a fresh engine for break in, and you go back to mineral base oil until the oil consumption stabilizes. As a matter of fact, the incoming service instruction 1014M at the bottom of the page 2 states mineral oil must be used following the replacement of one or more cylinders or until the oil consumption has stabilized. Now, I know someone just jumped on this jump jump on this and say, but we didn't replace the cylinder. We just honed it and installed new rings. True statement, but the end result is the same as replacing the cylinder when it comes to seating the rings. Huh? What? What the fuck are you just saying? Now, I know someone will jump on this and say, but we didn't replace a cylinder. We just honed it. The fuck are they talking about? They didn't replace a cylinder, but they honed it and installed new rings. True statement. But the end result is the same as replacing the cylinder. But it comes to seating, replacing the cylinder when it comes to, okay, I guess what I'm asking here is for you to just take this old man's word for it that it's a heck of a lot expensive, both in time and money, to do it right the first time. At the end of the day, that's all it comes back to. Getting back to the main point, if you don't remove the piston from the cylinder, you don't have to worry about disturbing the marriage. And that's probably what Jesse B was doing. Jesse B with him doing it by hand. So now I believe we have Keith's question answered already, part of it. Keith wanted to know what's your thoughts on regarding refreshing it up, whether by hand or felt pads. If you're gonna do it by hand, you can do it. If you're gonna do it by hand, um, without removing them, without removing those rings, and you have good compression, you have my utmost go. You have both thumbs up from me. If I can put my big toes up too, I'll do it. So if you never took the piston out, if you never disrupted the marriage, yeah, do it by hand. Make sure you do not get any of that stuff in the ring pack. And that's personally where I come in and I say just fucking replace it with new rings so you can avoid that altogether. You got to be very agile. You got to be very careful with that. You can, crank it again, Jesse B video. I just want to save you guys time. Let's go to Jesse B real quick. I want to keep his statement. Jesse B M62. Alusil. Silicon. Here we go. Alusil cylinder reconditioning, honed by hand using Sunin.
Liner or no iron liner. So the process to get ring, every BMW M62 I've ever worked on, it's always got these very fine scratches in the cylinder bores. And as most people know, these are alusil blocks with no...
And by the way, this right here, this is dull. This right here is shiny. Like it's not black and blue liner like that.
And as most,
but you can see where there's wear. You can see where the marriage is at. This has been untouched. This is the glazing right here. This is the glaze. That's the glaze.
These are alusil blocks with no liner.
That's what he meant by a few shiny spots.
So the process to get rings to seal is a little bit different. Today what I'm going to do is try to use some of the Sunin A30 paste, which is the factory prescribed honing paste, just by hand to try to recreate a bit of that finish. It'll knock out some of this glazing, even everything out, remove a bit of the carbon, and hopefully just smooth out some of these minor scratches. I mean, you can't even really feel them with a fingernail. They're extremely minor. But I'll do what I can to try to clean these up as best as possible. So this is what you're going to need for this job.
And he goes to tell you and what's going on, what he needs you to do. You can watch that video on your own time. If you want. No, I think I went through all these videos before. But just let me know what y'all need. Just let me know what you need. So let's get back to the passage. Getting back to the main point, if you don't remove the piston from the cylinder, then you don't have to worry about disturbing the marriage, meaning you do not have to use you don't really have to buy new rings, especially if your compression's good and you never had any signs of oil consumption or as they say oil starvation from your M62 or alusil block. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect logical sense. And that cleared up for me. I already disturbed the marriage. So I got to do it regardless. You take the piston out, you're gonna have to put that shit back in with new stuff. So do what Jesse B did. That's the benefits of doing it what do you say? By hand or felt pads. By hand, if you could do it by hand with the felt pads if you want. Mm, because with the felt pads, they expect you to soak it with oil. But what Jesse B did, he put the silicone compound on there and he was using the oil to help like thin it out a little bit. But you don't want to thin it out too much because now you have to worry about getting that compound into your ring pack. You get that shit in your ring pack, it's not gonna fucking work out. I'm telling you now, that shit is abrasive. It was so hard to clean that out. I made a mistake when lapping them with felt pads because I took them out. I got some of that stuff stuck in the coolant passages. I got to do a coolant flush. I got to do a coolant flush from all that. Cause that stuff it sticks. It sticks. It's fucking invasive as fuck. Anyways, felt pads. Yeah, if you're gonna use felt pads, just be very careful of how you spread it in there. By hand, if you mean by like a glove, and I don't know how the fuck that works. Wonder how would that work? If you like just put it on a glove and then boom, boom, boom. Jesse B didn't do that, so I wouldn't do that. You need some type of fabric for that to be on it, I guess. You could definitely, if you're gonna do it by hand, watch that Jesse B video. But if you just want to go all out, go all in, I don't think it's a shortcut. It's a logical shortcut because a shortcut is basically saying, "Oh, it'll be fine. I'll just do it like this." But there's no logic behind it. If that made sense. By hand or by felt pads and reusing O-rings. He's asking me should he do it by hand or felt pads. So how would he be able to do it if he wanted to use felt pads and the whole silicone 9 yards and stuff like that? How would he do that? I'm not sure. You'll have to get a smaller hone stone, 3-legged stone. Me personally, I will put something down there to protect it because when you do it, you gotta go up and down with the drill. You're gonna want to boom, 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 boom with the piston in there if you want to use the felt pads on a hone felt pads by hand. You can do it by hand or with a tool as long as you don't get that shit leaked down in there. I know I'm repeating this a lot because I just want to make sure I'm making sense. I want to make sure who I'm explaining this to gets it. Because if you haven't done it before, it's hard for someone to understand what I'm saying. It is. What I'm saying is you get a shorter, if you're going to use the felt pads, use a shorter hone set. Hone, 3-legged hone. Use a shorter one. Duct tape the stones, put the felt pads on with hot glue, however you want to attach it. You can use a high wool, a high grade premium of felt. You can use craft paper, not craft paper, but the craft felts like you could get for your kids for a school project. Layer those up. Me personally, I would use 3 just to make sure I'm safe. The only thing I suggest is you not to soak the felt pads in oil. Why? Because that shit is thin. Once that silicone paste gets to that oil, it spreads and it thins out pretty well. It's very easy to thin it out. And I thinned mine out. So I had to do a couple more laps than normal to make sure I'm getting everything in there. It stretches the product out. You don't have to use a lot of it. You really don't. You can buy this can and then resell it to someone else that needs it. A little bit of oil because it's really thick. I would prefer you to use it thick in this case because you have a piston in there. You have rings. How would you seal it off? I have no fucking idea. And me personally, I would not want that. Maybe you can use. There's got to be a way, like. Hmm. Hmm.
To this is to not end up spoiling the ring pack by getting some of this abrasive paste down into the rings. So I'm going to leave about a centimeter above the piston here. I've got
Right. Okay. He left space in between. He left space in between. He leaves space in between. So me personally, I wouldn't say a towel, but like shit like this. Like this is a candle top. Um it has this in it. Like stuff like that. Like just figure out cardboard. Put cardboard on top. Do a little thing and layer multiple cuts of the cylinder, the cutout of the cylinder on top of that, like coasters. And that's your ending hit point. That's all I got to say because I'm really just repeating myself and I'm not trying to. I'm talking your ear off, but I'm not trying to like kill you. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, bitch, shut up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, that's how you'll do it. That's how you should go about it, Keith. If you do not want to do what I just explained over and over again, because I got nervous myself, like, bruh, like you want to do that? Like, you really got to go slow. You got to take your time. If you keep it thick, I don't think you need to dilute it with oil. I don't. You can use a little bit, but
the piston at the bottom of stroke. But yeah, really, not a lot of magic to this.
and he's just fucking rubbing it in there.
Evenly buff it in, and then I'll get to cleaning it out. So I buffed the full area inside the cylinder here.
See the centimeter of space?
Leaving just about a centimeter or so at the bottom above the piston. Then from this point, it's just a matter of getting the abrasive compound out without working it down. So I'm just gonna take little bits of shop rag starting from the bottom and wiping up. So
He
I'm gonna
got
give these
some
things a
engine
final
flush.
clean out with a bit of a petroleum solvent. In this case, I'm using just an engine flush product. Got a big stack of pre-cut cloths here. And again, just wiping from top to bottom, or sorry, from bottom to top. And even though it looks clean,
It's not. See that shit?
you can see it's taking a bunch of stuff out. So just new ones and
Yeah, the video's here for you to just watch and do over again and again. Yeah. Don't want to do all that work. Another thing I'll suggest, now think about it. You're gonna use the felt pads. If you don't want to do it by hand like how he was doing it, buffering in there, cool. You want to do it with the felt pads. Again, make sure it's short. Is that my cat? No, it's a wire. Make sure the stones are short, duct tape it, felt pads, boom. Turn the engine over. Don't, like when you're stroking it, don't push up. Don't push up. You probably don't even have to like stroke. You don't have to go up and down the cylinder because it's not really, you know what I'm saying? Just make sure you're staying right there and you can do like a little bit of motion. You know what I'm saying? But have the cylinder pointing down so it won't come down at all. Do it by hand, you can do it like that. Or you can get actually no, you'll have to buy a separate tool for that. Yeah. You don't want it to run down the ring pack, turn the engine in the opposite direction, boom, boom, boom. Now, when you see your results, he didn't even have to use a promifler. He didn't. And he just oiled it up. And you can see the clear difference between these. You can see it.
So what I'm doing here is just trying to check to see if anything got in that ring pack.
Yep, because when the piston goes down, it leaves the shit that's up. Cool. Let's see what else this passage had to say. This getting back to the point, if you do not remove it, okay, you don't have to worry about disturbing the marriage I spoke of. And honing and installing new rings is not required. Honing and installing new rings is not required. So if you disturb the marriage, just go ahead and rehone it while you're at it. Go ahead and get new rings. This has to be a money-saving deal in both time and materials, regardless of how you look at it. And it will. If you follow my advice, you follow this aviation article's advice, this does not apply if you have other concerns regarding the overall condition of the cylinder, piston, and rings. And he means like taper, out of roundness. When confronted with the situation like this, one time you got to use a little logic and common sense. This is the approach I took in this case, and I'm confident the end results will be fine. I hope I've clarified the situation for you and you now understand where I was coming from. That was wonderful. These are comments. What is the difference between the manufacturer's minimum and no? Now we getting the fuck up out of here. That first guy ruined it. That guy ruined it. Let's see what other Hey, where's the Pelican? Okay, Pelican Farm. Let's see what they got to talk about it. How much time I got on this shit? Oh, only an hour? Good job. Good job. My cylinders are honed and head work done. The person who honed the cylinders told me to use new piston rings, but another source told me to reuse the old ones. My cylinders are honed and the head work done. The person who honed the cylinders told me to use new piston rings, but another source told me to reuse the old ones. What's your professional opinion? Sorry, I don't know anything about rings. Just out of interest, are the cylinders nickel seal lined? And they always do this shit. They always fucking do this shit. Is it nickel seal? No, it's not, bro. It's not. That shit gone, nigga. That shit gone. What year he got? He got smoky and rusty. Shit. No, that shit is gone. Do they need to be etched to expose the silicon particles? And does this make them good as new? I am considering an early 70s coupe. Zindalar said, I think these are just cast iron type cylinders, not. Yes, the engine is a 2.4. Jab, rings wear away, so I'm not sure why someone tell you to use old rings. I would use new rings. I believe that rings need to be bed into the cylinder. Reusing old rings will most likely give you a poor compression until the rings bed in. Zen, in a logical world, the previous info will be correct, but in a 9/11 world, other time I'm sorry. Hold on, damn. My throat sore as hell. Why the fuck is my throat so sore? Who got me sick? But in 9/11 world, other thing come into play. Top piston ring land is a serious consideration. The wear specs are important numbers here, and if there's excessive out of spec, the new rings will bite harder on cylinder wall and will break soon. New rings will accelerate top ring land. I don't. New rings definitely. In any way, it's false economy not to use new rings. Yeah. Can I just be honest? I don't. No. This shit. It feels like brain rot after reading that article. That was an amazing article. Let's see what AI has to say, because that I feel like I'm getting brain rot. Alusil sensitivity. Alusil is a high silicon aluminum alloy block that relies on a specialized chemical etching process exposing microscopic silicon crystals rather than standard mechanical cross hatching like Ford and them hoes. Reusing old, unhedged, components on delicate alusil boards increase the risk of scuffing if the old ring edges are sharp or misaligned, meaning unmarried. You have a higher chance of fucking your shit up, or later on, it will still be the same problem of consuming a lot of oil. Best practice mechanics strongly recommend replacing piston rings whether an engine is is disassembled or pistons are pulled from alusil cylinders, followed by proper cleaning and surface verification. If you can share why you are reusing the old rings, hmm, using stock rings for the pistons. Hmm. IU cylinders cannot be reliably re-ring. This indeed is a common misconception in the Porsche in some Porsche circles. There are no replacement rings available that are specifically designed for alusil cylinders. Of course, throwing out your current pistons and cylinders lead to large, expensive new ones. So a lot of people reuse them anyways. In some cases, a new set of rings sit fine and they indeed can be reused successfully. However, you cannot hone these cylinders. Um, Daniel said, obviously, if I find broken or damaged rings, they will not be going back in. But what is the bottom line of re-ringing, honing, and prepping cylinders for new rings? I've done it many times. The cylinders look good. Just re-ring. He has a picture. Make sure you check the gaps and have them cut by someone who knows. If the cylinder is not pretty or have too many scratches, have it cleaned up a bit. Where did the information come above from? This sounds like it's just from a forum where the guy doesn't know 928 using stock rings for the pistons you have is all you need to do. There is no seating like an iron block, IUCIL, and silicone that makes the matte finishes very hard and doesn't bend it. Yeah. Yeah. Typically, any scratches in cylinder walls that catch your fingernail when you run over them, should be repaired by reapplying the alusil, just with silicone. Yeah, that's it. That's really it. That's all I can only stretch this out so far. So that's your question there, buddy. I got you. I'm gonna hit you up for a B46 rings. We'll run 200 a set. I can get you a whole set. I can get you multiple sets. I can get you a master pack for 200. Just that. You know what I'm saying? Shipping and everything. If we can find it, we can find it. But, but you can reuse your old rings if you have not taken the rings out. If you have not took those pistons out, do not. If you took, I mean, I'm sorry, if you haven't took the pistons out, if you haven't disturbed the rings in the marriage, yeah, do it by hand like Jesse B. If you did, hit me up, or I'm gonna hit you up about it, and we'll find you those rings for the prices that I'm getting them at. Yes, yes. I'm not gonna show you a receipt because it's gonna show where I got it from. You know, you can't show. Nah. I know what the fuck I'm doing, but anyways. So my build. Oh, good back crack. So for my build is a M62 4.4. I have a 1998 740i. I do. It's maroon. It's like a red maroon, and it got a couple dents in it. I bought it from this older guy. His name was Julio. Yup. And I bought it from him for $900 in 2020. In 2020, I bought it from him for $800, $900. He wanted 12 for it. But when I first got the car, he said it's been sitting there for 2 years in the hot Vegas heat. leather seats, crusty, car dusty. He has a bunch of animals, so I had animal hair in there. It took a year to get it out, but it's still good. Um, um, the electronics work. It looked like they put in another radio. I wasn't a fan of the radio, the wiring. So as I went in there, I took those apart. What I found automatically wrong with the engine is that he's like, it won't start though. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, do you have the key? I get in there. He's like, whoa, like you really know about cars. Like, he's like, it wouldn't even do that a few weeks ago. I was like, and so I knew it wasn't locked. It wasn't seized. That's what I knew. And I popped the hood. I was like, he popped the hood. And I saw instantly like the alternator was black. It was pretty fucking dirty. And I was like, that alternator has to be bad. It just gotta be. It's bad. It's the original. It's the original one that came with the car. Yeah. And he knew it needed another battery. Okay. So I'm like, battery, that's 200. Alternator, that's 200. 'Cause I'm going based off what a mechanic would charge me just for labor, not including those parts. So I could just talk him down, you know? Talked him down, bought it for $800, got it towed home. Turns out the fuel pump, the wires, whoever worked on the fuel pump, the wires had the wire insulation, like the red and yellow, those colors are the insulation around the copper. It degraded within the fuel. Yeah, it has to be like it has to be like it has to withstand the gas that it's in. And it happened to me twice where it was a hot ass day and I was letting the car sit. The heat tore those up. The heat tore them up. And I put that cold gas on top. It ate the wires again. I said, let me go check the fuse. The fuse popped because the wires were touching each other. Could it have started a fire? Don't know. Based off common sense, yes. I think it would have definitely started a fire, but it just never did. I think because it was just so cold, it couldn't really do much, you know? So I'm stranded at a Shell's gas station. I just put $60 in this damn car. I pull it to the side and I start working on it. And I told the guy who worked on it before, I was like, bro, you gave me some cheap wires. He charged me like $238, $283, something like that. What the fuck? Like, I don't know if it was for diagnostics or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Like, at the time, I was like, why? I paid this much money. And the reason why it was so much money is because what I had to go through. Oh, but then you shouldn't have got a BMW. That has nothing to do with the fucking BMW. It's the fact that that man needs to get paid for his time and labor. A BMW, it's a BMW. Well, if you can't afford a BMW, bitch, a fucking Kia costs more than this BMW. A Kia alternator is probably gonna run somebody $400-500, including labor and parts. This is an old ass car. It shouldn't cost me as much as something new. You know what I'm saying? If I expect you to fix it, I expect you to fix it. But if you're honest with me, you're like, look, I don't know. I think your car is shit. So you're gonna have a bunch of problems anyways. Okay, cool. But people aren't like that. I'm a young female at the time coming in a mechanic shop. And that mechanic was right. But I don't know why he went out of business. I have no idea why he went out of business. He turned out to be right because he's like, I have that car too, but I couldn't keep up with the repairs. You couldn't keep up with the repairs. You're a mechanic. So I don't know what was going on with him. Um, that was my first job. The fuel pump, the battery, and alternator. I did not have any of the tools for that car. That alternator, they're like, oh, it's a BMW, so it's gonna be real hard to get it out. It was. It was a bitch to get that alternator out. It was a bitch. Oh my god! Like I never knew my wrist can get in positions. Like I had to hit one of these, and I'm just feeling the bolt. Hand will cramp. I'm crying. I'm crying trying to get this alternator out, and I got it. And I got it. I was so happy. Um, but what's going on with the car now? I had this car for since 2020, right? But the car has been down for 2, 3 years. Why has it been down so long? I was going through life. I had to learn, people will just use you. They don't care about you. They just need them to benefit. They care what you can bring. And I'm always a person that can save money. So they just knew I always had money and they could do whatever they want and I would just cover the bills. But then I started covering the bills a little too many times and I don't even have a car. I don't have a car. I'm not putting no money on my car. The money I do got, I saved up for to put on my BMW. It went to someone else's bills because of their neglect, their their selfishness. And I got fed up with it. I got tired, I got fed up, and I moved. And I've been keeping like a storage unit for it the whole time. I've been paying for the storage unit for 2, 3 years. It's like $400. I'm trying to move out of that junk because that $400 could definitely go towards everything else in my life. So, what was wrong with the car in the first place? And note that I'm going to say the first engine. The first engine is the original engine that I bought the car with, that the guy bought from the lawyer, that the lawyer got from the dealership. Okay. So it all started when I was at another Shell's gas station. I was at Green Valley Grocery. And the homie was like, hey, yo, like, your shit's smoking. And I'm like, whoa. Like, it was just a big, thick cloud of smoke. It looked white, but the whole time it was blue. It had a blue hue to it. I didn't know that. I did not know that at all. They say white, oh, it's coolant. It's probably a head gasket. Boy, I check my oil every motherfucking day. And it was not a head gasket. I'll pull one spark plug out just to see if that cylinder is clean. I'll rotate the spark plugs. Okay, I'm gonna check this one this time. This. And then after a while, I said, fuck it. I'm tired of it. Just keep the oil levels up, keep the coolant levels up, you're good. Right? So I'm riding around town with it smoking. And it didn't get real bad until like the last year I had it. And I couldn't get it to pass smog. Could not get that jump past smog. I couldn't do nothing because it kept coming up as an O2 sensor heater circuit problem. I changed the O2 sensor. I I backpinned the ECU to the O2 sensor harness, to the O2 sensor, to the harness. Like I did all of that. I got sewing needles because I have a sewing machine. That's all I had. I got sewing needles and I back pronged them. I back pronged them and then I got my multimeter. I got the alligator clamps up there and then I started touching stuff together and I'm checking if there's signal. The signals were great. But what would kill my O2 sensor was all the oil it was consuming. My car, oil separator valve broke. How did it break? It cracked. The bottom part of it cracked. The it's a grommet. It's a grommet. No, not the PCV, the oil separator valve. I mean, it's all one system. It's all one system, but it's a two-stage system. And I'm gonna show you with this picture right here. What's his name? What's that UK guy? We know his name. He has a 860. Damn, what's that guy name? I think it's called BeamerNet or something like that, where it's like Met. He's all over the forums. He's legendary like shredding, right? And this is one of the signs I got. Oil in my intake manifold. And I didn't know because when I was trying to solve it, I was like, oh, maybe it's an air leak. And the intake tubes, the intake manifold gaskets are just worn. I spent like $300 on all those parts and stuff like that. I was like, let me get this while I'm in there, this and that, right? And I spilled it all over the parking lot. I'm like, oh, sorry, mom. She's like, what the fuck? And I cleaned it up, not thinking that's a symptom. That's what's wrong. That's something not normal because I'm still new, right? And then, oops. And then another sign was this little latch back here. It's a hook. It's a tube that runs underneath the intake manifold. The intake manifold, right? And then there's a tube that's attached to the PCV right here. This is the PCV, and it's right here. It's a tube right here. It clamps onto it like this, like clamp onto it, and the tube is like on it. And that tube runs underneath the intake manifold and it runs to the front, but it's still inside the crankcase. It runs to the front of the crankcase. That has an O-ring. That itself has an O-ring. You got to make sure you watch out for that. And it runs to this right here. This is the oil separator valve, the part 2 of the PCV system. It's just oil separator valve. That's what it stands for. Pressure control valve. I think that's what the PCV stands for. And there's supposed to be a grommet underneath here. This looks brand new, but you're missing the grommet horn. This right here. This part broke. This part broke because I was doing the oil change. I said, let me take my borescope. My borescope's too big to go up the oil intake tube to see what's up there. And it was too many like angles. So what I did was I got a Fisher line, not Fisher line. I got a weed eater line and I shoved it up there. I shoved it and it stopped. So I was like, okay, it's not clogged from that point. But what I didn't know is that it was broke. It was broken. That's why I couldn't go up. It was broken. So it's that inner tube I was telling you about, and it returns the oil and does all that shit. Okay. The back part is if this right here fails, the OSV fails, you got a lot of air going in, and then the PCV is gonna act up and not keep the oil from getting into the intake. That's it. You're gonna get this shit. You're gonna get all this in there. You're gonna get all that in there. So, oh, that's nice. With that purple, that's nice. So yeah. And why am I looking at this picture? This picture right here is a hint, right? Because I kept on hearing a howling noise. Not like a woo, woo. No. It's like Like you keep hearing it. It's consistent. You hear space in between two pipes, in between two items, basically, two components. Especially when you rev it up. And and the dude told me, he's like, man, I think it's from right here. And I'm like, okay, cool. Cool. By the way, anybody that's new watching this video, resetting the codes do not fix the fucking car. It don't. And when you are reading PO codes and stuff like that, that's who found the problem. That's not who's causing the problem. That is not who's causing the problem. 9 times out of 10, it probably is. But that is not who's causing the problem. That's just somebody who said, hey, this ain't right. This is the narc snitching on everybody in the class. This is the guy that's saying, hey, they not doing their job over there, and you need to write them up. You need to check them out. Check their stats. Check their numbers. What's their idle time if you work in warehouse? You know, they keep borrowing my tools. Check how many times they went to the bathroom. And that's why live data is more important than that motherfucking, oh, just plug your OBD scanner and we have a subscription to help you figure it out. It's just another fucking scam to help misdiagnose and you to buy more parts just for them to make it non-available. Okay? Everything else in this car was beautiful. It was just fine. That's the only thing that was holding me back. By the way, while I was doing this, I was like, this is bullshit. Why do I have to buy a whole entire Valley pan? Oh yeah, I mentioned that last time. I'm mentioning it again. Why do I have to buy a whole fucking Valley pan? That's stupid. Look, either make your own. You see this? You got to buy the whole thing. No, you don't. Look. Like, that's a whole other one. It looks just like it. It looks just fucking like it. It'll be fine. Just buy the actual gasket. It's under a certain part number. And I showed that part number in the last video. And I think it was only available for like a certain car make and model. Oh yeah, look, Euro part. That's what it is. Euro part, it'll pass. It'll work. I think this pan is magnesium. But yeah, when you are back there, you're gonna have to replace those bolts. So be careful. You might want to pull the engine out when you're thinking about this. I'm sorry, if you're doing the inner back tubes for that. Just a quick tip. Yeah. Yeah. So what else happened? It was smoking that bad. And I also found out what valve stem seals are. Okay, So as I'm taking the engine apart, you know, I'm like, I'm gonna try and do the valve stem seals first. Because when I took them out, I was like, oh, this is brittle, this is this and that. And I failed to do the project because they had my friend at the time, they have HOA, and the HOA came around like some goddamn like some goddamn sheriff, like, oh, what are you, like, just watching me, like, damn, like, it's like that. This is America. I can't work on my car. It's bringing down the value of the property. No, it's not. No, the fuck it's not. You gotta do it within your garage. Not. Yeah, that whole situation. People don't listen. And I failed. I fucking failed. Lost my job. Had to tow the shit back to the storage. Lost my job. Had to move back in with my parents. And from then on, it was downhill, but it was up and down. So fast forward to now, I just got my rings from where I bought them from. Uh I got a dial bore gauge, a micrometer. What happened with the first engine? Okay, what happened with the first engine? What happened with the first engine was I was measuring it with the micrometer and dial bore gauge. That took 3 months for me to even understand the math, the senses, the what it's telling me, um, portion of the build. So I'm like, damn, it's uneven, it's this and that, it's out of round. Then later on, I find out these are uneven from factory, and due to American standards, Americans appreciate 100% accuracy. They do not like ballparks, and I understand why, because it'll drive you crazy. You have too much gauge of error to even know, and if you're doing this across the whole board, then what's the point in rebuilding it? You want to rebuild it and rebuild it right, right? So don't get too hung up on it. Now, if you want to be thorough and do your measurements, I would suggest you not take the heads off. Keep the heads on, keep everything intact up top, right? Keep everything intact up top. And if you want to lap them without the piston in it, then you can do the lapping process. But that's if you can. You can do that with certain blocks. You can do that with Mercedes. You cannot do that with this BMW. You can only do it on the two front cylinders, two and one. The other ones have uh, a thing at the bottom, like a plate at the bottom. So you're gonna have to do it from the top. You have to disassemble it. And the reason why I say don't take your heads off, you have a Mercedes, because and you can lap them or check your measurement under pressure if you want to use American standard, but also participating and in keeping tradition with the foreign uh engineer builds. You can take your dial bore gauge and go in from that way and measure everything under torque, because it's aluminum. It's going to move a lot. It's going to move a lot, and that's what I learned later on. Okay, so after those many months, confusion, frustration. All right, I'm gonna take it to a machine shop. Hey, can you just measure this? He's like, what do you want me to do with it? Oh my god. I might just measure it. Oh, okay. I'm gonna hone it. I'm gonna just clean this up. He cleaned it up so fucking bad. Like I still have the old block. It's in my closet. Um, I get the block back, right? I'm seeing how it's unfinished. I'm like, this looks horrible. It doesn't have crotch hatching. I told him it doesn't need crotch hatching. But damn, bro, like I figure he already had the crotch hatching in there, and he's like, yeah, you're good to go to just install. I'm like, no, you can't do that with this type of machine. You can't do that with this type of alloy. I get it home, I measure it. What the fuck? And I told him to write down the numbers, and he didn't write the numbers down. His son was even like, you didn't write it down? Like, he just didn't do shit. And he fucked the engine up. He bored it over thousands. It was at 0.108, 0.105, 0.109, 10. I saw 12 in there. And I'm just appalled by what I'm seeing. And he had a son in dial bore gauge, a professional one. And you're telling me and you're telling me You looked at a form. The form said it's supposed to be between 0.006 and 0.038 running clearance. They took so what they did was they got their tool, zeroed it out at 92 millimeters, and they got to work. Like, okay, this is not, this is the measurements. I can't see any of those measurements. And the reason why I'm mad about it, because it's like you just literally eyeballed this whole thing. He eyeballed the entire procedure, because if you wrote it down and you don't have that proof to give it to me, you didn't write it down. I still paid the 160. I was like, whatever, bro. Like, whatever. Like, I wasn't really tripping. I would have never paid it. I didn't want to pay it, but it was like, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to argue, because I really hate when I have to sit here and explain something to someone who thinks they know everything, or I explained it to them before and they still didn't get it. I would have been better off explaining to his son than him. And I'm not saying he wasn't receptive at all, but he was just lying to get get my service. He thinks like, oh, she's a female. I don't know what he was thinking, honestly. But 9 times out of 10, being a female is fucking worst thing you can do growing up in about mechanics, whatever. And I told him, like, I got pissed and slapped, because he's like, bring it up here. I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna sit here and bring this shit up to you back and forth. I'm using Uber. I don't have a fucking ride. Let me see. Like, no, like you don't know what you're doing, and I'm trying to tell you you don't know. I'm trying to teach you something new. I'm trying to teach you something new, and it's frustrating that you just want to go based off your knowledge, because you're so caught up in American standards. Oh, that's why we don't work on it, because that's stupid. It's not stupid. It's just how they do it. They have a different measuring. They have a whole nother. They're off the metric system. They have another whole system of how they measure things. What are you not understanding? Millimeters is smaller than motherfucking inches. You know, it's smaller than inches. Is smaller, way smaller, because what centimeters, millimeters, inches. Not understanding. And I didn't want to have to explain that. I didn't want to have to argue, waste my money and time and all that shit. What are you not understanding? Oh, that's not a professional grade one. Like, damn, you can't beat the smart into someone stupid. You can't beat the dumb out of somebody. Like, and I'm not saying like I'm gonna physically box him. I'm saying like, hey, I'm trying to beat this into your head. I'm gonna repeat myself over and over again. And then I thought about it, I was like, I'm not gonna waste my fucking breath. He's asking me, so what do you want me to do with it? Like, what, nigga? You cannot get these conventionally home. You cannot get them conventionally home. Okay. So that cylinder is already oversized technically, and I have no idea how oversized it is. Now I have to get into learning displacement and compression and all that shit. It's probably a 4.6. You know what? Let me. Speaking of that, we're gonna see what a 4.6 bore size is. It's 93 and the stroke is 85. I'm pretty sure the 4.4 is 83 stroke. So M62 4.6 bore size in millimeters. 93, hold on. What would be 93 millimeters on a dial bore gauge? I don't know where my micrometer is, so I can't really do it right now. Okay, this is how we're gonna do it. Let me bust out the calculator. Hold on. Let me bust out my phone. 3.66. 1. Okay, we're already in the thousands. M62 4.4 bore size. Oh, it's 82.7. The stroke. Minus 3 point. And thousandths. 3.622. Okay, so 30. So we're gonna take 33.661 divide. God damn. 3.661 minus 3.622. Okay. That's 0.039 difference. 0.039 difference. And the maximum wear is and the maximum permissible wear on the 4.4 is 0.1. Point fucking one. So the way I had my engine before, it was perfectly fine before I went to the machine shop. And I end up spending another $600 plus the 160, $600 plus to get a new block. So our current block for the M62, my build, is here. It's right here. I'm looking at it right now. Standing up on the engine stand. I just cleaned it yesterday. All the measurements are good. It's fine. Lap the cylinders with the silicone paste, felt pads, cool. The stage I'm at point right now is I need to go get filler gauges to gap these. I need to order my bearings, my main crankshaft bearings. I have my rod bearings. I need a torque wrench. I have the angle torque jump. And I need the bottom end bolts, the main bearing cap bolts, and the torque to yield ones too. And after that, I could start assembling this bad boy. I'm real close. Real close. So that's where I am in my build right now. When it comes to the wiring and everything, I do want to rewire it. But at the same time, I don't want to. I prefer to have a brand new wiring harness. And then from there, I want to put a bigger throttle on this car. I have a future build. I'm going to do something with that engine. Either it's going to be something involving computers or it's going to be another engine build. Not sure what I want to do yet. That's coming soon. That's on the dream board. But right now, I have all the gaskets. I have all the parts, the timing chains, the timing guides. Hey, fun fact, my timing guides were pretty fucking good for 275k miles. The engine was pretty good for 275k miles. But I had oil consumption, so I just wanted to replace the rings completely. The cylinders, some of them had scratches, but they weren't bad. They weren't that damn bad. They weren't. And they could have been easily fixed. The engine would have been up by now, but it's not. So That's where we're at with the build. I gotta tap out all these. So that's why I said the intercooler, interchangeable coolant pipe in the back of the engine. Yeah, them bolts is gonna break. But some penetrated fluid, get a torch, something. Oh, they're back from the lake meet. Go ahead, get that. And you don't have to worry about tapping them out. I'm in the process of tapping them out, and it's a fucking nightmare. So yeah, that's where I am with my build. I hope you guys enjoy. Um oh, one more thing, my bad. With this new block that I got from Pick Apart, how do you know if the block is good? Get a borescope, take out the spark plug. It had a lot of oil in there in the spark plug welds, and that's because of the valve covers. This car, I was scared that it overheated because there's so much calcium and fucking coolant gunk. I think it was just straight fucking water, to be so honest. But when I looked at the outside of the car, it had a pinstripe. Usually a pinstripe means someone had some type of money. That's a good indicator. Silly, 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 but they had that. And I was worried that it overheated, but I don't think it did. I think it just sat so fucking long because the leather seats were in good condition. The rims were good. The seat belts were clean. The carpet, everything, it was nice. And it ended up in a pick apart. I pulled that engine out. Someone took the transmission already. I took that out and with my buddy Nelson, we took that out, got it there, got it to my garage, took it apart. I think it's a good engine. The fact that it's still able to turn over, none of the cylinders were clean, so that's how I know it didn't overheat due to a failed gasket. But the thermostat, all that shit, ugh. So I'm gonna have to check if it's warped or not. If the heads are warped. I already have things that are already set up. I already did my valve stem seals. By the way, you can do your valve stem seals on M62 without having to take the heads off. Now, if you want to clean everything, you can still do everything without taking the heads off, but you're going to need the tools. You can do the walnut blasting method with the vacuum to make sure it swoops all that, it sucks all that up while you're blowing the walnut material to clean that stuff off, the carbon off. Will lapping matter? If it's that fucking bad, like my shit was bad. My shit was bad. Like let me show you. Let me show you how bad it was. Hold on. A valve intake gunk. Like my shit looked like this. It looked like this. It was horrible, but it was more chunky at the bottom and it was wet and it smelled like straight fucking fuel. It was just horrible. I'm telling you. Yep, like this one. Some of them were stuck. They couldn't even move. They can't move up and down. It was disgusting, bro. And like, so I tried to use sea foam um on mine and it was so bad. It, it was just white all over the intake. It never really went through because my cylinders 7 and 8 were just horrible. They were nasty. They were fucking nasty. They were the nastiest cylinders. Intake and engine block wise. But other than that, I think that's it. That's all I've got. If you guys got any more questions, please, Keith, I want to hear from you, buddy. Anybody else? Leave a question. Ask more questions. Ask me dumb questions. Ask me any type of question. I don't care. Ask me if I have armpit on my hair. A hair on my armpits. I don't know. I don't give a shit. Like, this is a no judgment free zone. Yes, I did say earlier I felt like I was losing brain cells from this because no one was answering the fucking question. That's what I hate about these damn forums. And this is why it's so frustrating and also relieving that me and Keith found each other. That this was very much worth it. Okay? Love you guys. I'll see y'all next time. Stay safe.